Hey everyone, this is Matt Johnson with Viral Marketing, and we're excited to be here with you on the Real Estate Realities Hangout with Todd Tremonti. And want to welcome Todd today. He's got a very interesting facial growth problem that he will kick off with. Todd,
What's
tell
up?
us about the beard, and then you can get into who our very very special secret weapon guest is that you're bringing on.
I knew you would start us out that way. That's funny. Uh, well, it's hilarious. I don't know if some of you guys have been. I know some of you have, but most of you probably aren't following. My wife and I are in the process of totally gutting and remodeling a house on a couple of acres. It's going to be great, but it's been a long process. And I opened my big mouth on a blog entry that we're using for marketing. We're following the process through photos and videos and generating some leads and things from it, which has been great. That's for a topic for another time, using your own stuff you're already doing for lead gen. But I made the stupid comment that I was growing a playoff beard, which means I wasn't going to cut it until we moved in. Well, at the time, I thought we were a little bit closer to move in than we are. So this is 3 weeks of somewhat sloppy Italian beard growth, and I've got probably 3 to 4 more. So Matt and I were talking about the necessity of probably trimming this beast here pretty soon, because I'm not generally a beard man, so I can't stop touching it. I just want to claw my face off. So if you just got on the Hangout and you're like, who is this tool bag? Just know I realize that I look ridiculous. So we're all on the same page. So I appreciate that lead in there, Matt. That was very kind of you, sitting in San Diego. Anyway, okay, cool. Well, my name is Todd Tremonti. Most of you guys know me, and I'm really excited about today's call. And I'll say this kind of in a funny way. Today's topic can be a boring one. It's not going to be boring today. But I get excited about lead generation because if you're in the real estate business as a broker or a team leader or an individual agent and you're not focused on lead generation as one of your top 2 or 3 priorities, then you're doing this wrong. And so what we're going to talk today about, not only the lead generation, but how can you consistently get quality leads and convert them. And I would say kind of with a caveat of ignoring some of the distractions and the squirrels and shiny objects and some of the BS that gets in the way, that can drag us away from productive work, that can drag us away from production and profitability. So we're going to talk about that today. In a little bit, we'll have kind of my secret guest join us here. I was joking with him earlier that I made a comment somewhere that I hide him in the basement and I don't let anybody know about him unless they're on the inner circle. And so he sent me a note and said, hey, am I coming out of the closet today? And I was like, no, the basement, not the closet, the basement. So it's kind of funny, but he's excited to be on. We'll get as much of his time as we can. He won't be able to be on with us the whole time. He's got a ton going on. Some of you guys know who he is because I've already introduced him to you because you've come in for some consulting time or we've had some one-on-one time or whatever, and he's been a good addition to your business. Some of you, honestly, might not really be ready for what this could do for your business. But I will promise you, some aspects, most aspects of what we discuss in the next hour or so will be valuable for every single one of us. So real quick, let's just back up again. I'm Todd Tremonti. I'm the broker and owner of Market Experts Realty and the Todd Tremonti Real Estate Home Selling Team, Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team here in the Dallas, Texas area. I also started and have been running real estate growth systems for the last couple of years, really because I enjoy the teaching aspect. On my team and my brokerage, that's my primary role, is equipping my team, my buyer's agents, my marketing agents, my marketing and operations coordinator, our transaction coordinator, even our finance team. So that's what I love to do. I still work with clients on a regular basis. My primary role is our marketing, our lead generation, our conversion systems, and equipping our team. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, and I'll be able to share what's working and not working on our team here in Dallas and what's working and not working with my consulting and coaching people that are learning this and applying it in markets all over the country. I've already talked to you about my filthy beard, but the guy that teed that one up is Matt Johnson. He's with Viral Marketing, and these are the guys that help us get our message to our database, to the marketplace, and I would strongly recommend that we won't talk a lot about it today, but if that's something that you're looking to do is communicate your message to your database and to your market, that you at least chat with the guys over at Viral. They're leading the industry in how to do that with video and how to reach your database and how to understand how to utilize the resources that you've already got and that you're already building, as opposed to necessarily going out and doing a ton of new stuff. So that's my commercial. Matt would probably be ticked at me for taking that much time, because those guys over there are humble, but they're good at what they do, so you should be talking to them about potentially adding them to your lead gen, your lead cultivation, your relationship development process in your business. Okay, so
we appreciate the plug.
Yeah,
but yeah, now guys, if you have any questions, like as we get into this, if you have questions for us, or especially for the special guest that you want us to address, that's part of why I'm here, is to bring your questions to those guys so that we can get them answered live. So make sure to throw them up in the Q&A app while you're watching. I'll also keep an eye on the Google Plus page, and so if you can't get them through the Q&A app, just put them right on the Google Plus page, and I'll bring them to the guys.
Yeah, and for everybody that stays with us and hangs out the full time, at the very end of this, I'm going to provide some resources that'll be really valuable to you based on today's topic. So I'll give you some places you can go and get some free stuff. You don't have to pay for anything, or no hooks attached or whatever, but get you some information about our topic today. That topic is, if you haven't already caught on, obviously creating consistent, high-quality lead gen stuff. So basically, you know, what I want to help you guys do is something that it took me too long to figure out, and that's how to stop overcomplicating this process of lead generation. You know, I would be split between 57 different things, and every day we would stop doing one thing and add 2 new things, and it really wasn't working. And honestly, the pieces of it that were working were hard to figure out because we had overcomplicated the process. I mean, I can remember doing postcards and full-size postcards and small postcards and envelopes and direct mail and radio and TV, blogging, pay-per-click advertising, Facebook advertising, trying to figure out Twitter, trying to figure out some other social media stuff, trying to use email marketing, buying email lists, sourcing. I mean, it can just be crazy, and that's just a very tiny sliver of what you could be doing out there for lead generation. So today we'll probably focus a little bit more on the buyer lead generation side of it and online lead generation. So, you know, one of the things that we'll obviously talk about is pay-per-click advertising. And whenever I think about pay-per-click advertising, really the idea that comes to mind is buying consistency. So if you're taking notes, one of the first bullet points for today is how is this possible to buy consistency? And in my mind, I'll give you a quick summary. But what I mean when I say buy consistency is I can figure out a budget that makes sense for me. Sometimes as little as $100, and as much as you want to spend. I know people that spend $100,000 a month on pay-per-click advertising. Now, you figure out a budget that makes sense for you, and you can pretty consistently expect to receive a certain amount of traffic, and if you get your conversion piece right, a number of leads every single whatever you want, month, week, day, year, quarter, whatever. So I can know for a certain investment that I'm going to generate a certain amount of response from that. I like that. As a business owner, I like to know for this amount of money, I'm going to get this amount of leads or this amount of opportunity. Now, you may listen or follow me and think that I hate SEO, and I don't. And when I say SEO, for some of you that may not know, search engine optimization, or what some people would call, you know, natural lead generation. So I'm not spending money necessarily every single month, but I'm focused on keywords or rich content or links or inbound, outbound links, that kind of stuff, ranking, you know, page rank, that kind of stuff. Now, I am not saying that stuff is worthless, but what I am saying is I cannot create the consistency with that I can with paid search, with paid traffic. Now, some people would argue with me, and they would say that 4 times they have had consistency. But then I would ask them to explain the times where that went away overnight, or that was dramatically reduced, or they immediately had to then go back and spend more money to get back to where they were. It's less of a consistent spend, but ultimately, in my experience and the experience of most of the people that I trust, it nets out to either be the same or more money spent on inconsistent lead generation as opposed to the consistency that I'm talking about. Whether you're a new business or a seasoned business, I really put value on consistency. That doesn't mean that we're not ambitious, that we don't occasionally gamble on something big. But if you want to grow beyond yourself, if you want to grow beyond your current production level, you need to be able to have consistent, predictable income, opportunity, leads, recruiting, all those things, so that you can start to build for the next month and the months ahead. So when we talk about creating consistency with pay-per-click, what we literally mean is, hey, I'm going to spend $500 this month. I know my average lead cost is $11.73, so that's going to generate whatever, 126 leads next month. I know the average agent on my team needs 30 to 40 leads per month, so that allows me to have 3 to 4 agents that should be able to convert at 5 or 7%, or whatever that looks like. So you can understand, hey, for this amount of money, 2 to 3 months from now, we should be closing this number of transactions, generating this amount of commission income, netting this amount of profit. So again, this can be a boring topic if you're not careful, but when it goes from tracking the ROI, tracking the consistency, and it goes to dollars earned for dollars invested, that can get exciting. And I want to try to lower my lead cost, increase my conversion, and make as much money as I possibly can. So that's something that you want to be paying attention to. That's something that you want to be doing in your business. If you're not doing that in your business, whether it's with pay-per-click or something else, you need to be doing that. So I'll tell you a little bit about kind of my journey with pay-per-click versus SEO. I got into the real estate business years and years and years ago, 14, 15 years ago, while I was a college student learning how to flip houses and wholesale, and got my license just kind of as a byproduct of buying, remodeling, and selling 5, 6, 7 houses a month as a college student. So I ended up with a license, woke up one day and just kind of said, oh man, I'm an agent. What does that even mean? It wasn't really what I wanted, but it turned into something that I was really passionate about. But I was saying what a lot of you have said or are saying is, when I get in front of somebody, I'm pretty good. But how do I get in front of that next person? Where's that next lead going to come from? Where's that next opportunity going to come from? And like a lot of you have probably learned, I figured out pretty quickly, a referral-based business in the beginning is not going to get me consistency and predictability. It's just not going to happen until I've built a massive pipeline of that type business. So when you want to manufacture growth at a faster pace than that natural referral flow can do, or if you want to get to survival from zero or from the early stages, you got to find a way to create that. And this is one of the ways you can do that. So when we're able to get our secret weapon on the line here, we'll get into a little bit more of the specifics, but let me just kind of go ahead and take us to where my experiences came from. In the beginning, I had zero money to work with, zero transactions to work off of. So I said, hey, I'm going to go the SEO route. I'm going to try to blog and build all this keyword-rich content, and I'm going to try to get links from .edu pages that are highly ranked and build my presence in the marketplace. I was sitting dead center of Dallas, Texas, trying to rank for Dallas real estate on Google. So you all know how well that worked out, right?
Wait a minute, that didn't go swimmingly for you, Todd?
Yes. So the next day, I was ranked #1 the next morning.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So it was a joke. It was a total failure. It was a miserable failure. So I was reading books and blog posts and going to events and trying to learn how to be this mastermind of real estate search engine optimization, and it just didn't work. Everything that everybody said worked failed, and everything that everybody said was going to fail failed. Everything was failing, So I was building content on my site. When somebody came there, they were enjoying and they were interacting and they were converting, but for the most part, I was generating zero traffic whatsoever. So I hustled like we all have to do. I started setting aside some commissions and playing with the idea of, can I pay for some traffic based on this keyword? And that started to work. And then I started to realize I'm getting way too many people coming to my site and way too few people actually giving me information and converting. And so we started to study the conversion process of that. So when I'm talking to someone about this topic, usually the conversion piece is where they want to go really quickly. I'll just tell you, we will get into some of the specifics of this before we finish our time today. But basically what I do is I found somebody that I trust, that I pay every single month. Here's my budget here's what I'll pay you to run it, and here's my budget for AdWords or pay-per-click advertising for traffic, and I let them do that. I found someone I trust that studies it more accurately and more frequently than I do, and I have a budget set aside to create that consistency. And then what I do as a real estate broker, team leader, agent, whatever you want to call it, is I focus most of my attention on the conversion piece. I do not recommend you being your own pay-per-click manager. Now, if you have a unique background in that arena, certainly do that. But most of us are not going to do well dividing our time trying to be a pay-per-click expert, an SEO expert, a negotiation expert, a marketing expert, a presentation expert, a showings expert, a valuation expert. You just can't do all that in the world of real estate. If you know me at all, you know I believe in specialization and expertise. And if you can't look someone in the eye and tell them that you are their very best option in that category, then you are a liar, and you should not be making that promise. So I cannot look you in the eye and say I'm the best pay-per-click guy in the real estate space. I believe that I work with one of, if not the best guys, and hopefully we'll get him on the line here pretty quick. But what I focus on day in and day out is the conversion piece of that. So I'm going to walk you through some of the process that my team and I go through on the conversion piece, and I'm happy to take questions and anything that pops up here. So throw those on the event page at Google Plus or on the Q&A piece right here on the side of the deal. So, one of the first and most important things that you can look at here is how quickly you respond when you do have a lead. Now, most of you have heard this before, but I'm going to tell you exactly how my team and I do this, because it's great in theory. It's difficult in practice. I don't care who you are. If you got more than one thing going on in your mind or at your desk or in your car, then this can become difficult. But the rule on our team is that we call every single lead back within 5 minutes. Now, that's difficult. The first question I would have if somebody told me that is, okay, well, I'm an agent on your team, Todd. I'm out showing property, and I get a new lead. I'm physically with another client in another home. How do I respond to that lead within 5 minutes? I will tell you this. Agents on our team understand the power of this enough that they will literally at times, if it's a client they know well and they're on their second or third or fourth showing, they'll say, hey, I've got a really important call I've got to take. Would it be okay if I stepped out for a few minutes? And generally, it's no big deal. But they know the value of that enough to literally step out and do that. Now, if it's a first-time showing or you're sitting face-to-face with a buyer at your initial presentation, you can't do that. You got to call them the instant you get out of that appointment, or potentially be willing to kick that over to another agent on the team and say, hey, you take this one, call them right away, and you can pay me back later. But when you understand, statistically, the research says that you're going to lose 80% of your opportunity to convert that initial opportunity after 5 minutes has passed. Now, here's why this makes sense. If I'm on your website and I signed up to, whatever, mattjohnsonrealty.com, and I immediately see properties and you've asked me for some information, and I sign up, hey, Todd Tremonti, you can call me at 214, blah, 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 you can email me at this, and now I'm on your website actively searching at homes, I'm looking around, and my phone rings, and I'm going, hello, and you're saying, hey, is this Todd? And I'm going, yeah? And you're going, hey, I noticed you were on my website, and I'm going, I literally just clicked that. I'm on your website right now. This is crazy. And you're like, oh, well, great. What an awesome coincidence. Our commitment here is to make sure that anybody that signs up on our website gets exactly what they're looking for, the resources that they need as quickly as possible with the least amount of stress and frustration as possible. So what exactly was it that you were looking for? The response to that is like, man, that is fantastic, as opposed to you call them 3 hours later and they've already moved on with their day, or they've been on 10 different realtors' websites by then. So that's kind of step one on that, is you got to follow up really, really quickly. So are we good? Are you? Can you hear us? Are you there, Nick? He's getting it figured out.
Still muted. I don't know if he realizes that, but he's done plenty of these. He'll figure it out.
He's getting his microphone. Anyway,
yeah.
my secret. Can you shoot him a message, Matt, and kind of tell him how to get that? Oh, there we go. Can you hear us? Nick, can you hear us?
No, I cannot.
Okay.
Can't hear anybody right now.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, Matt, if you can potentially connect with him and see if you can get him set up, then I'll kind of make
my guy calling him.
Okay. Okay. Well, the cat's out of the bag. There's the secret weapon, the man, the myth, the legend himself. He's out of the basement. So anyway, Nick Kramer with 9 Dot Systems is my go-to guy for pay-per-click. He does some SEO, so he likes to roll his eyes when I talk about how much SEO can be a distraction. But he's going to jump on here in a second, and he's going to share some really exciting stuff. I've kind of given him the green light to talk about what it is that he's doing with me and our team and what he does for us, and we'll get his feedback on a few different things. But he'll tell you that I tell him all the time.
How did you come across Nick? How did you guys meet?
So here's the cool deal. Probably 4 years ago, I was working with another kind of provider, technology partner in the real estate world, and Nick was the in-house lead gen kind of pay-per-click provider for them, and so I got connected with him and have used him literally every day since then. So can you hear us now, Nick? No.
I can't hear anything.
Okay. We'll try to help you. We'll try to get that figured out here. But give me a second here, and I'll kind of finish the thought. Okay. So I got connected with Nick about 4 years ago, and he's been our go-to guy ever since then. The cool thing about having somebody outside of yourself manage that for you is there have been no less than 6 or 7 times over that time period where we have said, hey, we want to completely retarget what we're doing with our online buyer lead gen. We want to look at a new geography. We want to increase our average transaction price by $100,000 this year. What do you see in the analytics that we could do about that? And we've literally been able to do that and say, okay, this geography is generating a ton of leads for you guys, but these tend to be the lower price people. Is that what you're seeing on your end? And we're saying that's exactly what we're seeing. And he's saying, okay, let's exclude that geography and add this geography where the statistics tell us there's going to be a higher price person. And then we've had the data lie to us before where we said this area is higher priced, that should help us increase. And we've tracked it and said that is not what we're seeing here. So we've got to rewrite our ads, or we've got to retarget a new geography, or we've got to rework the way that we're focused on this. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'm on my phone now, so I'm mobile.
Glorious. Glorious. All right. So I'm bragging on you, so hang tight and just let me say some nice things before you say something to ruin it, okay?
Sure.
Okay. So anyway, every 6 months or so, if not more often, we're on the phone or on the email with Nick saying, hey, we want to redirect our focus here. We want to focus on a new geography or a new price point. And he's telling us, hey, that's a great idea. Or he might say, hey, the data doesn't line up with what you're wanting to do, and let's try this instead. So I'll brag on him a little bit. I prefer to give him a hard time, but I'll brag on him a little bit that probably just 3 or 4 months ago, we found that everything that had been working for us really well was just getting a little soft. It was still working. It was still fine, but it wasn't working as well as it had been for the previous year or so. And so he said, hey, look, every once in a while we need to do this. Give me a day or two, and we're just going to rebuild your whole deal. We're going to back out all the tweaks and things we've done over the last few years and start fresh. And he did, and within a matter of 2 to 3 days, our buyer agents were coming into the morning meetings and saying, hey, I don't know what we changed, but it's working. We're getting more leads, and we're getting better quality. And, to be honest with you, I was saying great because our average cost per lead is down. So the updates have worked really well. So that's how my relationship with Nick works, and that's how I would say if you want to buy consistency in your business, if you want to avoid the beatdown of doing SEO, and Nick's going to roll his eyes when I say that, but if you want to avoid that beatdown of trying to do that on yourself and create that consistency over time, at least if you want to take SEO out of the forefront and put it over in partnership with the pay-per-click deal, then that's how that relationship can work, and that's how our relationship with Nick works. Now his screen is frozen up here, which typically happens on every single hangout that you do. You have some sort of technological deal, but can you still hear us, Nick? Awesome. So he's gonna probably jump back on and we'll get it going. He's traveling today, by the way. He's in between his. I think he's actually going to the Super Bowl. That dirtbag has figured out a way to get Super Bowl tickets. But I obviously really like him, but I like to give him a hard time. But I literally think he's got client meetings around. He found a way to get some client meetings set up for the Super Bowl week. So I know he's in between like 5 presentations and stuff. So anyway, we'll get him on and it'll be good. But
I'm here
there
again.
he is. There you go. I was just talking smack about you again while you were gone.
This is the third piece of equipment that I've jumped on. I went from laptop to phone to iPad, and I knew having my phone, I was going to get calls and they'd kick me out. So you guys can hear me now, right?
Yeah, we can hear you and see you. And so are you going to the Super Bowl? Is that why you're traveling? I know
I'm not going to the Super Bowl. I'm going to the Phoenix Open is why I was out here. I was hoping that I could double up Super Bowl Phoenix Open, so it was a premeditated trip to see my brother who lives in Scottsdale and say, hey, my team's going to make it, but I'm a fan of a team that needs new ownership called the Bears, so there's not much cheering for me this week. I'm actually flying home on Sunday at like 4 because I could care less about the Super Bowl. But
if you would like to take a few minutes and talk about college basketball or football, we could do that.
Sure. Actually, what I wanted to touch on was how amazing your beard looks this fine day. I mean, I'm ready for you to come up to Iowa and hang out in the nice cold weather because you just look so manly. We get you some boots and some coats, put you on a snow machine or snowmobile as we call it, and get you acclimated to the winter.
You missed my initial. Matt has certainly teed that one up, but I'll explain later. My playoff beard, I can't shave it until we move into our house that we're remodeling and rebuilding.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm enjoying watching you tiptoe your way around divorce and build that thing up.
Nick saw the first blog post where when we sold the house that we're in, my wife told me she wanted to fire her realtor, and I was like, that's messed up. That's totally messed up. But then we sold it within 2 days for way, way more than we should have sold it for. So
there you go.
We're in good graces again. I'm back. She's back in the inner circle of our raving fan club.
That's good.
Anyway, hey, so here's I want to get you caught up and get your 2 cents, and then there's several other things I want to share. But basically, I told everybody how I think SEO sucks. I know that it can work, and obviously it's something that for some people is a good deal. But my primary focus in lead generation is to buy consistency.
Sure.
And that's what you've been able to do for us, is to say, look, Nick's the expert. I'm going to pay him for his time, and then I'm going to give him a budget to work with to go out and consistently every day, every week, every month, every quarter, I can know as an individual agent or as a team, here's the number of opportunities that I've got. And then on my end, my job is then to convert well and track that and know what I need and know how we need to tweak. So give everybody kind of your initial thoughts on, you can talk about specifically and you and me and how we've developed this over 3 or 4 years and how when I refer someone to you, they typically can plug and play that type of system. But just give us your thoughts on that.
Sure. So Todd was actually my 3rd customer in the industry. So I've been doing it 4 years, I think, is what we've been hanging out and going back and forth each college and football season, going at each other. But it's the industry you guys are in. It's not a one-stop shop for everybody. So there's not a one set website that works for everybody. There's not a one set plan that works for everybody. And that's sort of where we come in and where I from day one have figured out, what Todd's personality is, what he prefers to do, and what he wants to do. So I know very well that Todd is a results now. I want consistency. I want to know what's going on, and that's what Google AdWords gives you. That's what PPC gives you. And technically everybody knows me in the industry as an AdWords guy, but I truthfully like to call myself a consultant in the sense of a conversion consultant. So. You come to me with a problem, I'm going to tell you this is why you would use this site, this is why you would use this one, this is the program that would work best for you. And I've actually told a lot of people, and we have mutual friends that I've basically said AdWords isn't for you because of this reason. So that's what you guys lack a lot in the industry, is you usually have people selling you and hard selling you at all times. And what you need is, instead of having to rely on going and talking to somebody and saying, hey, did this work for you in your area? Should I do it with mine? If you're able to talk to somebody that says, this is what I'm thinking of doing, shouldn't do it. Google AdWords for Todd and for his system has been, real good. And like he said, I did catch that before I got booted off again, is, we hit a lull, and it's a living, breathing thing, and the system sort of ran amok for a month or two, and we sort of said, hey, what's going on with it? I told him, give me a week, let me redesign it, rebuild it, we'll come back and we'll hit it harder. And I think we've dropped your cost per conversion by 33% by doing that probably. So there's new things that happen every day, and there's new stuff that comes up. But I think I would guess probably every year we have the conversation about SEO or PPC, and it's sort of it's funny because Todd comes into it and says, "Talk me out of it." Essentially, is what you do. You're like, "All right, are you doing SEO?" And I say, "Yeah, we can help with SEO services, but I don't allow people to do SEO because if they don't know what they're doing, then they're going to throw a lot of money away and wonder where the hell it went." But I said, obviously we know keywords that work for you. We know what's making you money, and we can go out and try to buy into that industry. But there's no guarantees. Todd's the kind of guy that loves guarantees.
and I'll just add that not everybody might have caught that, but when you've got a consultant that will tell you, "Don't give me money for that," that's a game changer. And today's not a commercial for Nick. I mean, obviously he's got my endorsement. I use him. I hired him for 4 years straight and never stopped. And that's a whole nother conversation. Is stop and start and stop and start. Is don't do that. But let me just say this. On the call, I know you guys want specifics on the call. So the takeaway from what Nick just said is, over time, your relationship can produce better and better results. So in the beginning, our average cost per lead got sometimes as high as $18 per lead. Now that might sound cheap to you. That might sound expensive to you. Every market's going to be different. Yep. You want to get an understanding of what's it worth to me? What's my conversion rate? If you can convert 50% of your internet buyer leads, it doesn't matter what the cost of that lead is, right? If you convert 1%, you need to be pretty stinking careful how much money you're spending, because there's people that'll jump in my seat, do a hangout, present themselves as somebody that can help you, and say, "We generate 5,000 leads a month," and then you go, "Hey, how many dollars came out of the back end of that?" And it's like, "Well, we generated 5,000 leads this month," and you're like, "Yeah, I heard you say that, but what does that mean?" So you need somebody that understands the dollars and cents of it. So again, Nick's great. If you want, I'm going to give you Nick's information, or let Nick give you his information before we're finished here. But more importantly, let's jump in real quick and let Nick and I talk you through some of the specifics. So what I would say really quick is, buy consistency with pay-per-click. If you want to do SEO alongside of that, that's fine. Just understand it's a longer-term, less consistent investment, in my opinion. Now, pay-per-click costs money. You've got to have money to do this, okay? Now, you don't have to have a ton of money. And Nick, what would you think is kind of a minimum investment in most markets before you're going to be able to make a difference?
Here's the rule of thumb and the numbers. The great thing is with you guys, you know what your commissions are, you know what your splits are going to be, you know what your average sale is going to be. And the beauty of it is if we do pay-per-click in just one area or specific areas, you know what the average sale is, if it's at 165,000 or 265,000. So what I usually tell agents when they're talking to me regularly, if they're going to work with me or not, I let them know that if you show up at work every day and you make your calls like you're supposed to, you should fall into a 1% conversion. So you literally should, if you generate 100 leads in that month, after 90 days of running the program, you should start to see the fruits of your labor, and you should start to get a 1% return. So if it works for you doing a pay-per-click, and I tell people, don't start out with 100 leads, because some people might not be able to take on that much traffic. Right. But in the same sense as you can run a lot of traffic from day to day, you can tell yourself, I'm going to run $30 a day and try to get a $10 a lead, so you're getting 3 leads a day, but run that Monday through Friday, or run that Tuesday through Saturday, and those are the days you work, turn it off the other days, you save that money. I would budget 500 to start out. And if that's you doing the system, or if that's somebody else managing it. Now, when we manage for people, that's a different conversation I'd have with an agent. Is are you a good fit for me? I turn away probably 45% of the people I talk to because they're either not ready for me, or it's just not a good fit for us. And at the end of the day, if you don't have a good rapport with somebody that you're doing work with, then you're not gonna take full advantage of the leads that you're getting. And you'll feel bad about making a phone call to me and saying, "Hey, Nick, the leads are shit. We need to go a different direction." Sorry, my language. But, truthfully, a lot of times people are out there generating leads, and when the agent tries to raise their hand and say, hey, these leads aren't that great, everybody says, be quiet and just work your leads. Well, listen to what your leads are giving you. If the leads aren't good there, go to another direction. With AdWords, you can do that, and you'll be able to know that when you're running a campaign. But typically, starting out, do $500 a month. You can usually find your way, and I can help people get a $100 gift card for a start of a new account, which gets you, which I would say do $600 for the first month. $600 for the first month at 30 days, you can do $20 a day. $20 a day gives you a consistent run and lets you see what's out there. You're gonna fail, you're gonna succeed. I mean, when I started doing PPC for myself, which is how I learned to do it when I was in the web hosting industry, I blasted through $40,000 in 3 months. But I figured out what I was doing pretty quickly because it was my money. So
yeah, I think I would echo that. Somewhere around a $500 budget is going to get you started. Now listen, if you're an individual agent and you're looking to generate, what I would recommend would be 30 to 40 online buyer leads a month is what you could follow up and prospect really well. You got to understand that there's a snowball effect to all this, right? So if you're doing 30 to 40 a month and you're a year in, you've got 400 leads now. You're never going to give up on those old leads. And remember, stick with me to the end and I'll give you our exact follow-up system. We can talk about that some, but I'll give that to you so we don't need to spend the entire time on that. But I want people to understand that you don't have to spend a ton of money, but to get to that point of consistency, Nick said 90 days. I would say if you're good at this, you can see results within 30, but you can start to see some consistency within 90, and then you can know my average lead cost is this, my average return is this. So now can I go up or down from there? But if you could throw $500 a month at it for 3 months in a row, you're going to know most of what you need to know to say, hey, okay, I can pull back to 300 and I'll be fine. Or hey, I really need to get to 700 or 800 before in my market. This is going to create consistency.
Right.
Now, so here's the deal. It costs money. You need to invest something. There's a ways to get vendors to help you defer some of that cost and to get some of your lender partners, insurance partners, other people that benefit from your transactions, inspections, appraisals, all that kind of stuff. So, well, inspections and appraisals are probably terrible ideas. But anyway, other vendor partners that would that benefit from a lead generated by you would be very interested in generating leads at the kind of average cost you can get with pay-per-click. But I want to give you guys some meaty stuff. So we can take questions on that if people want to come back to it. But I would say this. Sales is a numbers game. It's always been a numbers game. It's always going to be a numbers game. Everyone who's ever gotten into real estate says, I got into real estate because I love people and it's a people business. And that's true. But before you ever get to meet with a person, you've got to get through the numbers, the prospecting, the conversion percentages of getting face-to-face with somebody. So you got to get their information, get on the phone, or get an email, or send them a letter, or whatever, in order to get that face-to-face opportunity. And so what that looks like for most people is understanding how to convert, right? So if Nick or you or somebody else does the job of getting them to your website, and your website is set up in a way that they're going to leave their name, phone number, and email address, now it's your job to do something with that, right?
5 minutes. Get it done.
We talked about that. I already shared that. So you got to call them within 5 minutes, and then I'll give you our follow-up system. But you got to call them twice a day that first day. You got to call them for the first 3 days. You got to try to call them twice a day until you reach them. You got to call them once a day for the next 4 days until you reach them. You got to call them every other day for another 7 days. After they're 30 days old, you got to put them in a dialer and call them once a month, and I'll give you all that. But you've got to follow up aggressively. You got to not be afraid of occasionally somebody saying to you, hey, chill out. And you've got to be super, super excited about when somebody says, okay, maybe, and you got to be prepared to take those next steps. But if you're not doing the work of converting, it doesn't really matter how many leads you get. It doesn't matter how much traffic you have. It doesn't matter how many names, phone numbers, and email addresses you have. And the guys at Viral will tell you about that too. Once you've got them, now how do you start to cultivate and communicate and develop the value of that? But you've got to do that. So there is a numbers game of this on the front end. And I would say there's really two kinds of business, especially if we're focused on the buyer side. There's the kind of business you chase and the kind of business you attract. And right now we're talking about the chasing piece of the business. We're talking about hustling. We're talking about working. Once you can build a consistent foundation in your business of that, hey, I can go to work, do what I need to do, and get 1, 2, 3, 4 closings a month. Then I can start to invest in attracting business. I can put some videos out. I can do radio advertising. I can do some direct mail. I've got a budget I consistently put out every single month, and I can start to attract people to me. Typically of a slightly better quality, a slightly higher conversion rate, potentially a slightly higher value. But don't be afraid of the numbers game. Hey, if I can get leads at $12 a lead and I can afford to get 47 of them a month and I can get one closed deal out of that a month, then I can spend, whatever that is, $600, and I can get $4,200 in commission back, and then I can grow this, and I can grow this, and I can start chasing a little bit less and attracting a little bit more, and I can balance out my business the way that I want. I can start leveraging. I can hire help. That's how you build a business. And so don't be afraid of the numbers game aspect of this. So, Nick, what are you seeing with people you're working with all over the country where they're using pay-per-click to build and to grow their budget and then to add other things to it? Or are you seeing people that this is the only thing they do? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I typically work with I have a lot of solo agents, truthfully. I have agents that are, what I like to prefer to call them are agents that have hustle, or that aren't afraid to get on the phone, or aren't afraid to spend the money to make the money. And typically what we see them do is they'll come to us and they're ready to sort of jump on the train and do a 60 or 90 or 100 leads a month. But once they're doing that, they're coming back. And what I always tell agents is how you build and grow from this is obviously your database is going to grow exponentially. I mean, you do 100 leads a month for a year, you've got over 1,000 leads in there. You've got to know what's going on with them at all times. You've got to follow up with them. So I see progression. When we first started, and I started working with Todd, and I was wet behind the ears on the real estate industry and how to work with agents, is I used to be a PPC manager. I managed AdWords accounts. And then I found out that I can only drive so much traffic and generate so many leads. I've got to go back and make sure my agents are doing what they're supposed to do. So I tell a lot of people, go bother Todd. Ask Todd what he's doing. I ask him how he's succeeding and such. But caring about what they're doing on that conversion. So a lot of times the growth path for my agents goes as, I like a lot of leads. They raise their hand and say, hey, I need your help. I need leads. So we start to get them leads, and then they raise their hand and say, what the hell am I supposed to be doing with all these leads? Yeah, so from there, they get into whether building out a intuitive system like an Infusionsoft system, getting their automated text messages system set up, and then building off of that. Do they want to go into SEO from there? What's the prospect of doing that? What's the value in it? A lot of people are looking towards Facebook now as well. But more times than not, I have agents that grow as in, they put more buyer's agents underneath them, or they're going the ISA route. So when agents are growing, they tend to, I have the majority of my agents, which Todd is no exception to the rule, will come to me and be like, okay, I'm spending X amount of dollars a month. What if I double that? Can I get the same amount of leads? And I usually say, you could probably get more because we have more data to work with and be able to get you more leads at a better rate. They want to know, how can I spend, if I'm getting a great ROI on this, how can I spend to keep this going? There's also been cases where I've actually told an agent to stop doing PPC and effectively cancel me as a vendor because they were making so much money in Zillow. I don't have that problem of telling people that. That's not the end of the world. That's very uncommon because most agents that we work with are really unhappy with the Zillow Trulia move. But I think that there's always a good reason. And I think you know who I'm talking about that does Zillow and just hammers on it. And dude makes bank. I know
exactly who you're talking about, and he's a unicorn. It's not even worth saying it.
He makes so much bank, and he always comes back to me and says, "How can we make money with PPC?" And I tell him, "We can. It just has a longer, it's a longer life scale. So yes, you can get those quick closes where Eric and Colorado Springs told me the other day. He's like, I had a 12 days from lead to close basically on an account, fastest one ever. Yeah.
We've had two this year so far, and you can generate that cash buyer. I would say, in my experience, pay-per-click can be equally as good and is almost always better than the third-party platforms, Zillow, Trulia,
right?
Any of that kind of thing. But we don't have to get into all that. But to your point, it's scalable. right? So I can say, hey, we just found an amazing guy that we want to add to the team. I'm looking to add 30 to 40 new leads a month. Hey, here's the increase my budget. Let's do this thing. So that's something that you can't do in a lot of other areas because you can't create that level of consistency.
Right.
That's why I like it. Believe me, I would rather not spend any money and still get tons of consistent, high-quality leads. But I've gotten to the point where I'm very, very happy paying for this because I know what it produces. So I think a lot of people have that kind of question. There's one question on the board here, actually, that just kind of says, how do I find a pay-per-click manager? And when is a good time to get one? I'll answer the second question, and then I'll let Nick act like he's going to recommend someone else other than himself. So, when's a good time to get one? Okay, so there's two ways to think about that. Number one is as soon as you can find $500 a month-ish, probably a little bit more to be honest. You need to pay someone to do this for you, unless you have a unique background in doing it. But at the same time, not until you're ready to work, not until you're ready to follow through and convert and put in the work. So if you're going to generate a bunch of phone numbers, you better be ready to call these people back and follow the plan that I'll give you or somebody else will give you to aggressively track them down and build rapport with them and show them how you can add value and convert. If you don't want to do that, if you know that you have no discipline and you're never, ever going to follow up on them, then why generate the lead? If you know that you're only going to follow up with emails on these, then you can actually get a higher opt-in rate, but you're going to have a lower conversion rate down the line. So those are conversations you can have with Nick or somebody like that. Mm-hmm. I would say if you're ready to have a reasonable budget, it doesn't have to be huge, but a reasonable budget, and you want to build, I would point you towards Nick, and I would tell you he's the guy for you, and we'll get his info posted up at the end. But let's just say they're shopping around, Nick. What are some things they should look for in somebody that would do that for them?
So if you're looking to get a PPC manager, first off, there's a couple of things, and I'll start with this. Is if you have that question, we can do a phone conversation. I can tell you if you're ready, if you need to do it yourself. It basically comes down to what type of personality you have. Are you okay with having a trust level with somebody and saying, I'm gonna let you take this money and take the reins, which essentially a lot of people do with Zillow or Truly already. But what you're doing is you need to be able to identify that these people know what they're doing in the Google AdWords sense, but they also realize what you're looking for and understand the systems that you're looking for. And I'll take it one step further. Google has really made a push in the last 2 years to offer free setups for anybody and everybody that wants to come to the board and do it. I highly advise you not to do that. And the reason for that is, and I'm so against it to the point, I'll set your damn account up for free if you want to manage it. I don't have a problem with that. I'll do that for you. Just send me an email and let me know where you're at, and I'll take care of you. But what you don't do is you don't want to go out and get a manager that can really hurt you more than help you, where they're going to send generic traffic. They don't know the negative keyword terms. So a lot of accounts that I audit for people, when they come to me, they have 0 negative keyword terms. So anybody that does a search for Plano homes for sale, Plano homes for rent shows up as well, and they're paying $1 a click on that, where there's no chance in the world you're ever going to get them into a house because they can't afford a house, but you don't know that as that person's coming to your site. So you have to have people looking out for you. But to know when you have how to know whether it's time for you to do it yourself or have a manager do it, it comes down to the 80-20 principle. It's something that I live my life by. It's something that I think anybody that's going from here to here in their business or in their life and saying, do I make enough money where I probably shouldn't clean my house myself every day? Should I pay somebody to do that? Does 20% of the work that I do account for 80% of my income? And if that's the case, what is my hourly rate? So I always ask agents that run their own AdWords account, come to me and say, why in the world would I pay you an absorbent amount of money to do this when I do this already? And my answer is to them, what's your time worth and how much time do you spend on this? And that's something that you have to quantify. You have to say, okay, I think I'm worth $50 an hour. So if I spend X amount of hours a month, I'm throwing away this much money by managing this. Yeah. And I can guarantee you that a good PPC manager is going to beat you up and down. It's like the Cowboys playing the high school team. I mean, it's not even close.
Yeah,
So,
I think that the great takeaway for anybody asking that question is, the way to find a great pay-per-click manager. Take Nick up. I didn't think he would offer that, but he said he'd be happy to have a phone call with anybody on here.
Sure.
So I would take him up on that. We'll get his info posted up on here before the end. We got about 10 minutes left. But I would say this: you're looking for somebody that's going to keep their eye on it. That's not going to set it and forget it and let it go away. And that's, in my experience, what most people do is, hey, $500 a month budget. I'm going to set it, and then I'll wait for you to get angry and call me. But instead of getting like hey, we're finding some new things are working. Are you cool with me making a few adjustments, or what do you think about this? And that's what you're looking for, somebody that's truly going to keep their eye on it and look even beyond pay-per-click. And just the good thing about Nick is he's got clients all over the country, so he's saying, hey, here's a market where things are shifting and we're seeing this work. Do you think that market's similar to yours? Because we could test that. So that's huge. But are there any other questions out there right now that we might want to jump in before we wrap up?
I'll jump on.
Yeah, we do have one.
Let me add to that real quick, Todd. The big thing for looking for a PPC manager is you want to have somebody that's their core competency, not somebody that I design websites and I know a little bit of SEO and I'll do your pay-per-click. It's also sometimes not in your best interest to have somebody do it that does. It's a value-added solution. So we build websites. We have a real estate website. Oh, by the way, we'll do your PPC for you. You're not going to get a lot of one-on-one FaceTime with them. You're not going to get a lot of feedback. So communication is huge.
And you're probably going to get some bias on that too. But anyway,
never sign contracts either. That's my big thing. Have I ever sent you a contract, Todd?
If you did, I didn't open that email.
No contracts. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No, I think you pretty much answered the question. So Jason Clowers was asking about other vendors, guys like Boomtown, Real Geeks, that sort of thing.
Sure. It's a value-added service. I'm real familiar with those two platforms, obviously, and as a lot of people know, and I have a lot of clients that use Boomtown, use Real Geeks. The difference between our service and their service is that personal touch, is that communication. You're going to go there and you're going to tell them what you want. They're going to build it out, but truthfully, it's the back and forth, it's the maturity of the account, and it's the fact that I guarantee you the PPC manager or them as Boomtown isn't going to pick up the phone and treat you like like their pet project and say, hey, are you making those calls? Are you doing what you're supposed to? Take a look at this guy's system. He's doing well with this, or make sure you're doing this, or I've got a new solution. Automated text messages is what I'm telling everybody I talk to, whether they're a customer or not. In 2015, if you're not doing it, you're an idiot. So that's what you're getting a difference between going with a vendor or going with somebody that specializes in it, that might have an eye on that stuff.
Yeah, and I would just add that all of those vendors are good at what they do. I use Real Geeks. I don't mind sharing, but
they do websites. They're very good at websites.
What I hire those people, and I have nothing bad to say about any of them, but what I hire them for is the conversion side. I want to be able to host IDX, internet search, home search, and I want to be able to capture a name, phone number, and an email address, potentially more. Then it's my responsibility to convert. So what I do is, if you just picture, there's 3 steps, right? I need someone to get me traffic. I need something to capture a lead once the traffic arrives there at the site, and then I need to go and convert, right? So I will pay someone, I tend to pay Nick, to bring the traffic to the platform, and then those platforms are great for that second part. I pay them for that platform to help me convert, and then my team and I go and do that third part of converting. But we need to make sure those 3 pieces are all familiar with each other, flow in and out of each other, work together. We add some things on the back end of those platforms for long-term follow-up, for automation, for things like that, but never let that get in the way of hustling and doing the work. So what else are we looking at as far as potential questions here?
Yeah, this is a really good one. So, Nick, Terry Hunter has a question. Says, I was approached by a pay-per-click local manager who wanted to own the setup that he offered to build, and is this common?
Yes, it is common. I'm shaking my head because of local. The problem with local is that they might not have experience in it. You might want to find somebody like me that has multiple clients in the real estate industry, because it's something that it's not like anything else you're going to see. As far as owning it, This is something that we do. We own it. Todd doesn't have access to his AdWords account. Todd has full access to his Google Analytics account, and I can show him exactly. He can find out everything we're doing on that. But as far as owning it, it's my intellectual property is how I look at it. It's what you pay me to do. So you're paying me good money to work this. You shouldn't have to jump into it. And we have things that we do that are completely different than others that give us a competitive advantage against our competition, against your competition. So as far as that PPC manager wanting to own it, that's totally fine. That happens. I understand agents that want to have access to that and need to see stuff. What I would do is I'd do screenshots, or I'd do a hangout with them and show them exactly what we're doing in the back end. But
for the purpose of time, what I would say is I don't care, right? I own the website that converts them, and I own everything about the follow-up. I pay for a service to bring traffic to my website, so that part I'm not as concerned with. The thing I don't like about local is, number one, let's say the guy is a world-class real estate lead generation guy, pay-per-click traffic generation guy, and he's local. Then I got to compete with 87 other agents that are using that guy in the same town.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have someone that's in another part of the country or that's working with agents all over that can say, this is working here, this isn't working there. Maybe I am the only guy in that market, or maybe I'm one of a few, but he's not. I'm not one of 100 in the same market, so we're all bidding each other up and competing. So
be more concerned about about market exclusivity than owning your account or not owning your account. That would be a better question to ask that guy.
Yeah. Okay. A couple other things I want to make sure we cover, because we only have a couple of minutes left. Is one of the biggest pieces of this whole thing is you've got to work the system, right? You've got to be willing to hustle. So I'm going to throw up a little YouTube video of a radio interview I did, golly, probably 2 years ago. I'll put it on the page, the event page. I don't want to waste time showing it right now, but it's worth watching, where I'm basically just talking about the laziness of most agents and how you can get a great pay-per-click manager, you can get a great conversion site, and you can have a great follow-up system, and if you don't do the work, none of this matters, right? So I'll also, real quick, Nick or I will post a link on that same event page where you can go and get my exact online buyer lead follow-up system. When we call and how many times we call and all that stuff. And then you've already got my info. If you want more than that, there's some ways for you to get that. You can follow up. But it'll tell you how many times we call, what time of day we call, what lead type we call on what day of the week, and all that good stuff. So I'll give you guys all that stuff. Are there any other questions before we wrap up?
Yeah, just one. We have another from Terry Hunter here, and he's asking, how do you handle it with multiple agents in the same space in the same price range?
How do I handle it? I don't. So it's usually exclusivity, and it's based on how much traffic is in there. So the best way to explain it is I'm here in Scottsdale, Phoenix area this week. It's a massive area. It's got a lot of traffic, and if my Scottsdale agent has a $40,000 a month budget, he can cover all the traffic. But if he doesn't have that budget, then what we do is we ensure ourselves that they're not touching each other. We're not bidding against them. But I only probably have I have 2 accounts in Scottsdale, 2 in Peoria. So we're doing exclusivity to a point. And I actually tell the agents who each other are. So I say, hey Todd, I'm working with this person in Plano, which I'm not, but I would go out and tell them, hey, I'm working with this gentleman, so who I'm working with here. But I usually, typically, if it's a small area, I don't. It's exclusive because I'd be fighting against myself.
Yeah, and from the agent side, I would just say that's where your marketing and your differentiation come to play. I'm not scared of having 100 other agents bidding against me on pay-per-click, because the message I want to give has got to stand out anyway, regardless of what media I'm advertising in. So we're a tiny bit over time, so if there's any questions we didn't get to, I apologize, but feel free to ask those on the event page. If we can get to them, I'll try to reply to them there. And then go ahead and go to, we're going to put the link on the event page. Go there, you'll get my free follow-up plan. Nick, real quick, do you want to share how people can reach you?
Sure. The best way is to go to my website. It's a fairly incomplete website, but it's out there. It's drivenleads.com. Just fill out the form if you want to to schedule a time to chat with me. My email direct is nick@drivenleads.com. I would prefer you to do the fill out the form on the website so I can keep track of stuff, because if I get a lot of influx, sometimes people fall through the cracks because, like you guys, I'm working leads just the same, having people contact me. So drivenleads.com.
Like a car, drivenleads.com.
Drivenleads.com.
Check him out, and then check out the event page. I'm going to provide the link to our follow-up system. No charge, no nothing. You can have that. And then I'm also going to give you just a link to a short video that I did during a radio interview about that concept of putting in the work. So appreciate you being on with us, Nick.
Thanks, guys.
Apologize for the technology stuff. It happens. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time on your supposed business trip to Arizona.
It's all business.
Thanks for keeping us on track here, Matt. You guys check out Viral for sure if you're interested in any sort of video marketing, or you're interested in reaching your database, because they're doing a killer job for us and for a lot of people we know. You can check us out at realestategrowthsystems.com if you want, and we'll see you next month. Same time, same place, and we'll let you know about that. We'll shoot you a note and invite you to that one. But thanks, guys. I appreciate you being on, and we'll talk to everybody real soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.